Have you ever noticed something strange? The biggest opportunities in your life rarely disappear because you aren't talented enough. They disappear because you never even tried. Not because you couldn't, because something invisible stopped you. Something you felt since childhood. A quiet voice whispering, "What if you fail?" That single question has quietly shaped millions of lives. Businesses never started, books never written, dreams never chased, not because people lacked ability, but because fear convinced them it was safer to stay exactly where they were. Here's the disturbing part: failure isn't what hurts us the most. It's the imagination of failure. Your brain creates disasters that haven't happened, and then reacts as if they're already real. One interview, one exam, one conversation, your heart races, your hands sweat, your stomach tightens, as if your life depends on the outcome. But why? Because your brain wasn't designed to chase success. It was designed to survive. Thousands of years ago, making the wrong decision could cost you your life. That ancient survival system still lives inside you today. To your brain, rejection once meant losing your tribe, and losing your tribe often meant death. Today, nobody is chasing you with a spear, but your brain still reacts as if they are. That's why sending one email, posting one video, starting one business can feel strangely terrifying, not because it's dangerous, because your brain mistakes uncertainty for survival. And here's where most people get trapped. They don't avoid failure. They avoid feeling embarrassed. They avoid judgment. They avoid the possibility that someone might think they're not good enough. But here's the irony: the people you admire most failed more times than you'll ever hear about. You only see their victories, never the nights they questioned everything. So here's the real question: what if failure isn't your enemy? What if it's the prison you've imagined around yourself that has been holding you back all along? Because once you understand why you fear failure, you stop running from it. And that's where everything begins to change. Think back to the first time you failed. Maybe it was a test. Maybe it was a race. Maybe it was simply getting the wrong answer in front of your classmates. You probably don't remember every detail, but your brain does, because emotional memories leave deeper marks than ordinary ones. As children, we aren't afraid of falling. We learn by falling. We try. We laugh. We get back up. Fear arrives later, when mistakes begin to carry consequences. When failure becomes something people judge. Little by little, we start hearing familiar phrases. Be careful. Don't mess it up. Look at how well they did. Without realizing it, we begin connecting mistakes with disappointment. School teaches us many valuable things, but it also teaches something dangerous. That wrong answers deserve red marks. That perfection earns rewards, and that mistakes should be avoided, without meaning to. Many of us grow up believing our worth depends on our performance. Then adulthood arrives. The classroom disappears, but the fear remains. Now the grades become salaries. The report card becomes social media. And suddenly, everyone seems to be winning except you. Comparison creates a dangerous illusion. You compare your everyday life to someone else's highlight reel. You see their success, but never their fear, never their rejection, never the nights they almost quit. And that's where perfectionism quietly enters. It doesn't sound like fear. It sounds responsible. I'll start when everything is ready. I'll wait until I'm better. One more course, one more month. But perfectionism has a secret. It's fear wearing a smarter disguise. Because if you never begin, you never have to fail. And if you never fail, your brain convinces you your dream is still possible. It's a comforting lie, but a lie nonetheless. The truth is, every dream asks the same price: embarrassment, rejection, failure. No one escapes those costs. The only difference is whether they're willing to pay them. So before asking, "What if I fail?" ask a different question: what happens if I never try? Because one day, the pain of failure fades, but the regret of never trying can last a lifetime. Here's something your brain rarely tells you. Fear isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect it. Every time you stand at the edge of something uncertain, a new job, a difficult conversation, a business idea, your brain asks one question before anything else: is this safe? Not, will this make you happy? That's why your mind has a strange habit. Before you've taken the first step, it starts writing the ending. You'll embarrass yourself. People will laugh. You're not ready. It feels like wisdom, but it's only prediction, and predictions are often wrong. Imagine standing outside a room, certain everyone inside is judging you. Then you finally walk in and discover most people were too busy worrying about themselves to notice you at all. That's the trick fear plays. It makes you the center of a story that no one else is reading. The more you avoid uncomfortable situations, the more dangerous they seem. Fear grows strongest in places you've never entered, not because they're truly dangerous, but because they're unfamiliar. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. At first, every movement feels impossible, every fall feels painful, but eventually, the thing that terrified you becomes something you do without thinking. Confidence wasn't born first, practice was, yet adults expect the opposite. They believe they should feel confident before taking action, but confidence has never worked that way. It grows quietly, every time you survive something you once feared. This is why failure can become your greatest teacher. Failure gives feedback, failure reveals weakness, failure exposes blind spots, success often whispers, failure speaks loudly enough to change you. Look closely at anyone you admire. An entrepreneur, an athlete, an artist. Their success wasn't built on avoiding failure. It was built on refusing to let failure become their identity. They failed, they learned, then they kept moving. The moment you say, I failed, you're describing an experience. But the moment you say, I am a failure, you've turned a single moment into your identity. And identities are much harder to escape than mistakes. Maybe the fear you've carried for years was never warning you about failure. Maybe it was simply asking one question. Will you let this moment define who you become? Because every person who has ever changed their life had to answer that question first. There's a myth we've been taught our entire lives, that successful people are fearless. But that's never been true. They feel the same uncertainty, the same racing heartbeat, the same voice asking, what if this goes wrong? The difference is they don't let that voice make the decision. Fear speaks first. It always does. It tells you to wait, to prepare a little more, to start tomorrow. But tomorrow has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. Comfort feels peaceful. That's why it's so convincing. But comfort has a hidden cost. It asks for nothing today, then quietly takes everything tomorrow. The dream, the confidence, the person you could have become. Imagine two versions of yourself. One chooses safety every single time. The other chooses growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. 5 years later, they won't recognize each other. Because tiny decisions become entirely different lives. Growth almost never arrives with applause. Most of the time, it begins quietly. One difficult phone call, one application, one honest conversation, one first upload, no audience, no celebration, just one small step, repeated again and again. People often wait for motivation. But motivation is unreliable. Some days it arrives, many days it doesn't. Discipline is different. It whispers, do it anyway, and over time, that whisper becomes your greatest strength. Every person you've ever admired has heard the same voice inside their head. You're not ready. The difference, they stopped waiting to feel ready. Because readiness isn't something you discover. It's something you build, one action at a time. Think about every skill you've ever mastered. Walking, driving, speaking, none of them felt natural at first. You improved because you kept showing up, not because you never struggled. One day, you'll look back at the challenge that's scaring you today, and wonder why it ever felt impossible. Not because the challenge became smaller, but because you became stronger. So maybe courage isn't a giant leap. Maybe it's simply deciding that your future deserves more influence than your fear, and sometimes that single decision changes everything. Imagine meeting the person you could have become, not the version shaped by fear, not the version that always played it safe, but the version who took the risk, who kept going after every setback, who didn't let one bad day become a bad life. Would you recognize that person, or would they feel like a stranger? Life rarely asks whether you're fearless. It asks something much simpler. Will you take the next step, even while you're afraid? Because courage isn't built in moments without fear. It's built in moments when fear doesn't win. One decision, one phone call, one application, one conversation, one upload, one beginning. Your life rarely changes overnight. It changes one brave choice at a time. Years from now, you probably won't remember every success or every failure, but you'll remember the moments you chose courage over comfort, because those moments quietly rewrote your story. Failure will never be comfortable. It never was, and it never will be. But neither is growth. The question isn't which path avoids pain. The question is which pain leads somewhere worth going. One day, the fear you're carrying today will become nothing more than a story. Not because fear disappeared, but because you kept walking until it became smaller than your purpose. Remember this: every expert was once a beginner. Every confident person was once uncertain. Every success story started with someone who almost gave up. The only reason you're hearing about them today is because they didn't. Maybe the goal was never to eliminate fear. Maybe the goal was to stop letting fear decide. Because fear will always have a voice. You simply don't have to give it the final word. So, the next time fear whispers, "What if you fail?" answer it with a different question. What if this is the moment my life finally begins? Because every meaningful journey starts with uncertainty. At the end of life, people rarely regret the failures that taught them something. They regret the opportunities they never took, the words they never said, the dreams they quietly abandoned. Failure may leave a scar, but regret has a way of staying forever. So take the first step, not because success is guaranteed, but because a life controlled by fear isn't really living at all.